The Story of Don Quixote de la Mancha. Alonso Quijano was a middle-aged gentleman from the region of La Mancha in central Spain. Instead of taking care of his estate, Alonso was obsessed with the chivalrous ideals touted in the books he constantly read. He would imagine himself as a knight, riding his noble steed, defending the helpless, and destroying the wicked. One day he went to his neighbor, a simple man called Sancho Panza, and told him, "Sancho, I have decided that I will become a brave knight, and I would like you to become my faithful squire." Sancho didn't quite understand what was going on, but he agreed to go along with his neighbor. Alonso went back home and put on his grandfather's dusty and rusty armor. Then he chose an old horse to ride upon, and gave a donkey to Sancho.
"Beware, world! I am Don Quixote, a brave and noble knight, and this is my horse Rocinante. Off we go, Sancho," he said, and they both went riding to a nearby village called El Toboso.
As Don Quixote and Sancho Panza proudly rode through the streets of El Toboso, the villagers looked curiously at the two strange characters and wondered who they could be and what they could be doing. Quite unexpectedly, Don Quixote and Sancho rode past a young peasant woman who was working in the fields. She was a rather brawny girl, well built and sturdy, but through Don Quixote's imaginative eyes, she looked like the most beautiful and delicate maiden he had ever seen, and he even imagined a name for her.
"Her name is Dulcinea. Her rank must be at least that of a princess, since she is my queen and lady, and her beauty superhuman, since all the impossible and fanciful attributes of beauty which the poets apply to their ladies are verified in her. For her hairs are gold, her forehead Elysian fields, her eyebrows rainbows, her eyes suns, her cheeks roses, her lips coral, her teeth pearls, her neck alabaster, her bosom marble, her hands ivory, her fairness snow. And what modesty conceals from sight such, I think and imagine as rational reflection can only extol, not compare," he told Sancho. Sancho was confused. "See, Sancho," Don Quixote tells him, "this is our purpose, to protect such a lovely maiden from the dangers of the world." "Don't worry, Dulcinea. Don Quixote is here to fight the bad and wicked," he shouted back as they continued their journey.
Don Quixote and Sancho were resting under a tree when suddenly they see a big cloud of dust approaching and hear a loud noise.
"Look, Sancho!" shouts Don Quixote. "An enemy army approaches. Give me my lance and shield."
Don Quixote jumps onto Rocinante and quickly charges, but it was just a big flock of sheep, so Don Quixote sees himself alone in the middle of hundreds of running sheep. Of course, that Don Quixote, he could see enemy soldiers amidst the sheep that were running past him.
"Stay here and fight, you cowards!"
he shouted loudly as he tried to manage his lance. Sancho would look at this, not knowing what to think. There were so many sheep running that eventually Don Quixote lost his balance and fell from his horse. Sancho ran to help him up.
"They were too many, Sancho, but I have fought well, haven't I?" Don Quixote asked.
"Yes, you did," Sancho replied to him. Don Quixote and Sancho continue their journey through the night. A big storm approaches, and quickly rain, wind, and lightning turn Don Quixote's journey even more difficult. The wind blew so strong that they even have difficulty moving forward. Don Quixote comes around a hill where some windmills are spinning fast due to the wind speed. Illuminated by the lightning, the windmills look mysterious, and for Don Quixote's imagination, those were not windmills.
"Look, Sancho," he said. "Giants! Giants everywhere!"
Of course, Sancho could not see any giant, only windmills. Suddenly, Don Quixote could see Dulcinea being held captive on one of the giant's hands.
"Dulcinea! Dulcinea!" he shouted. "I'll come and save you!"
And he charged toward the windmill that, for him, was a giant who had captured his love, Dulcinea.
"Fear not, Dulcinea! I am coming! Prepare to feel my lance, evil creature!" he said as he prepared to strike.
Of course, that poor Don Quixote speared the sail of the windmill and got stuck there, spinning around and around for hours until the wind calmed down and he eventually fell on the ground. Don Quixote had been defeated. He was beaten and depressed. Sancho took his master back home, while Don Quixote tried to figure out exactly what had happened. Returned to his estate, Don Quixote realized that all his adventures were simply a product of his imagination. Don Quixote never embarrassed himself further by going on any more quests, but his house would always be full of children to whom he would tell the most fantastic stories about knights, squires, and noble quests, and all lived happily together, going on many, many more adventures in their imagination. The end.